Hi, we're Bobby and Jenny Mihsill, and we're missionaries in Cote d'Ivoire. We're thrilled to be able to share with you the ways the Lord is working in Cote d'Ivoire, West Africa, and where we have been serving for the past 5 years. Together with our partners here in the U.S., we're grateful to walk alongside the local church, to invest together, and to see the impact of investment. We've seen the Lord work in the main areas in which we serve. That's the Children of Promise, a sponsorship program, EBAU, the West African Bible Institute, and through hosting service experiences such as work camps.
Children of Promise launched 4 years ago in Cote d'Ivoire. This program pairs a sponsor with a child in Cote d'Ivoire to offer the child food, healthcare and medicine, and education each month. 12 volunteers have been trained and are leading all elements of the local programs. During the COVID-19 pandemic, churches around the world have made adjustments. These 12 Children of Promise volunteers have gone the extra mile to ensure that sponsored children and families get food and hygiene items during this crucial time. The program continues to grow, and there are currently 43 children sponsored in Cote d'Ivoire. We've had the opportunity to offer children needed support and education through partnership with 2 nonprofit organizations this past year, Days for Girls and The Shoe That Grows. You'll hear more about Days for Girls later. The Shoe That Grows are adjustable, high-quality shoes that last for up to 5 years. High-quality shoes are expensive and can be difficult to find in Cote d'Ivoire. These shoes fit well, are supportive and long-lasting, and offer a footwear solution for Ivorian children whose main mode of transportation is walking. Thanks to Sponsored, each sponsored child in Cote d'Ivoire received a pair of The Shoe That Grows this past year. One of our Children of Promise locations is in a cocoa farming village called Platform. The leader of our Children of Promise volunteer group in this location is named Alexi. The story of investment in Alexi's family has yielded great impact. 10 years ago, Alexi's young daughter was very ill. The Church of God missionaries there at the time, Larry and Leanne Sellers and Sherman and Kay Kreitzer, cared for Alexi and his family by visiting his daughter and helping her get medical treatment. This love and care had such an impact on Alexi and his wife, who was pregnant at the time, that they decided that if their new baby was a girl, they would name her Kay, and if he was a boy, they would name him Sherman. Alexi's daughter, who had been sick, was healed by the Lord, and baby boy Sherman was born later that year. Through the discipleship of the local Church of God congregation and platform, Alexi and his wife continued to grow in their faith. 4 years ago, when Children of Promise launched in Cote d'Ivoire, Alexi eagerly agreed to lead the volunteer group at Platform. Alexi had experienced the love of God through God's people and the impact on his family and in his child's life. One of the first sponsored children in the program was his son, Sherman. Now Alexi is investing himself in impacting the lives of children with the love of God in his village.
Our second Children of Promise location is in the city in the northern part of Cote d'Ivoire called Korogo. After training volunteers to work with the Children of Promise in Korogo, we were able to walk alongside them and visit the homes of the first children applying for sponsorship. One of the children we visited was Suzanne. Suzanne's family attended the local Church of God congregation, and the pastor of the local Church of God congregation had and continued to invest in the family through discipleship. At the time that we went to Suzanne's house to take her application, our friend and ongoing partner in ministry, Katie, was visiting us in Cote d'Ivoire from California. Katie, a nurse, agreed to do basic medical exam on the children as we took their applications. Katie was able to connect her passion in a tangible way. At that initial visit 4 years ago, Katie medically examined Suzanne. Watch with us as Suzanne tells her story.
Je me nomme Konegi Sangi Suzanne. Je suis en classe de CM2. J'ai 11 ans. Commencement du programme, J'avais mal aux pieds.
Quand ma fille Suzanne avait mal aux pieds, elle ne peut pas courir ni jouer.
Grâce au programme des enfants de promesse, j'ai réussi ma guérison.
Depuis qu'elle a réussi la guérison, en 2019, là, elle a commencé à jouer au ballon. Je viens pour dire merci au programme des enfants de promesse pour tout ce qu'ils ont fait pour ma fille, le soutien qu'ils ont apporté à ma famille. Je leur dis merci au nom de Jésus.
Katie's investment made a significant impact. You see, when Katie performed a health check on Suzanne, she found that Suzanne had been washing her feet with bleach water, which was actually eating away her skin. Suzanne and her parents had been applying an antifungal cream, but an antibiotic ointment was needed for her wounds. Suzanne's sponsor would make it possible for her to get the correct medication and a pair of durable shoes. Suzanne's local church and the Children of Promise volunteers with her church continues to walk alongside her so that she can literally walk alongside others. Children of Promise has made wholeness possible for Suzanne. We're excited to see what the Lord has done in the life of Suzanne and what He will do in the next 2 years, 5, and 50 years. Alexi and Suzanne are just 2 examples of lives that have been impacted, and impact in leading them to invest in others as they are being raised up and used by God to encourage, strengthen, and grow His church. The church in Cote d'Ivoire would like to see a Children of Promise program in every congregation. More volunteers are ready to be trained. We're eager to return to Cote d'Ivoire to open a 3rd Children of Promise location. As Isaiah 52:7 says, "How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of those who bring good news." For those who have been called to preach the good news and to invest their lives in the church, IBAO is the West African Bible Institute where the Church of God pastors and leaders are trained. Jenny and I both teach at IBAO. This past year, we have taught Christian education, comparative religions, and systematic theology. One new addition to the IBAO curriculum over the past 2 years has been the morning English classes taught by Jenny that help the students learn to read in English with the goal of making additional theological texts and materials available to them. Although IBAO classes are currently paused due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the widespread ministry of the current IBAO students remain as they minister in their communities during this time of great need. One important practical aspect of the training IBAO offers in practical experiences through internship. During the final year of IBAO, each student is paired with an experienced pastor who walks alongside the student and helps him or her in ministering to others. It has been our joy to see former students investing in God's work by planting churches, leading congregations, and discipling others. One of these former IBAO students is Francis. Francis has discipled and impacted those around him in his home village and in the town where his wife is. Francis graduated from Ibao in 2017. One of the young men who had discipled in his home village moved to his wife's town, and he kept in touch with this young man. As Francis walked alongside this young man, he also felt God's call on his life. And this young man is now serving in the local church, teaching Sunday school, and he is currently a student at Ibao.
After graduating from Ibao, Francis began pastoring at a church in the village of Senfra. The church was meeting in a building that was originally built as the parsonage where the pastor was to live. It was cramped, and on any given Sunday, it was hard to find a seat inside with people sitting shoulder to shoulder. The National Church asked that a group come alongside to help build a new building that would meet the needs of this village congregation. One way in which we're able to walk alongside the local church is to help host service experiences, which are groups that come from North America to work with the Church of God in Cote d'Ivoire. Longtime work camp coordinator and contractor Jeff Van Epps from Minnesota helped in answering the National Church's request for partnership in constructing a church building that would accommodate the growing congregation in Senfra. Jeff teamed up with Pastor Jason Knoll from Bertha, Minnesota, and together they gathered a team that came to lay the foundation and build the walls of the new church in the village of Senfra. Some background to the story that seems unrelated until we understand that the Lord was going before us to work this all out is that a few months prior to the arrival of Pastor Jason's team, I heard about a program in South Africa that offered education and menstruation kits to young ladies, a much-needed provision for school-age girls to be able to maintain healthy hygiene and continue attending school even during their menstrual cycles. But the programs and materials did not seem to be available in Cote d'Ivoire, so we remain focused on other areas of ministry, namely the work camp set to arrive shortly. Pastor Jason, Jeff, and their team, a total of 8 people, arrived and did an incredible job of working with and alongside the Ivorian church to lay the foundation and build the walls of the new church building in Senfra. Incredible investment, incredible impact. But God wasn't done yet. God continued to work even after this first team departed, and 8 months later, another team would come. We'll see the details of how God put all the pieces together in this video. Watch with us.
Well, my name is Pastor Jason Knoll. I'm with New Life Church of God in Bertha, Minnesota, and we were just blessed to go to the Ivory Coast. I knew that God had called me personally to go to the Ivory Coast, and it was a journey from then. It was just a matter of when I was going, not if I was going. So.
Pastor Jason and 7 others from Minnesota and Georgia traveled to Cote d'Ivoire to lay the foundation and put up the walls of the new Church of God building in the village of Senfra. Among the team members was Dave, who attends the church where Jason is pastor.
I know that Dave has had a heart for mission going way back, and I'm sure going way forward.
My name is Dave Chaffin, and I work as a rural mail carrier in Minnesota.
This trip was going to be building the church, and that was a new experience and something I wanted to be involved with, so it was an easy decision to go.
Dave had the opportunity to talk about his experience in Cote d'Ivoire with Dan, a contractor who he had gotten to know on his mail route.
He's on my rural mail route in Minnesota, and I think our trip was, there was a write-up in the paper, he saw that, and then I just talked to him about it a little bit, and right away he's like, well, next trip, he said, I want to go, so.
Dave connected Dan to the leader of the next work camp team going to Cote d'Ivoire the following year to put the roof on the Senfra church.
He was telling me about a mission trip he'd been on, and I was telling him about a mission trip I had been on, and the conversation ended up with me saying, well, if they ever need any help, give me a holler.
As Dan prepared for his time in Cote d'Ivoire, the Lord made a way for Dan's wife, Carol, to also make an impact in ministry in Cote d'Ivoire, even though she did not physically make the trip with him.
Yeah, it was another God working in mysterious ways. My wife joined an international organization about 3 years ago where they call it Days for Girls kits for young women.
Inside each Days for Girls kit is underwear, reusable panty shields, panty liners, soap, a washcloth, and instructions inside a discreet drawstring bag.
And she started sewing about 3 years ago. And without knowing where those kits would go, she, I guess you would say, started sewing with faith, period. And lo and behold, I ended up going to Africa, and one of the missionaries here, Jenny, had found out about Days for Girls and was looking for a place to get those kits, and they connected, and God worked from there. God was many, many steps ahead of us.
Carol and her team sewed the kits and sent them with Dan. Jenny went through the online Days for Girls training to teach about the body and how to educate the young women on the use of the menstruation kits. Bobby went through the complimentary program for young men called Men Who Know, which teaches young men about the body, hygiene, and how to build a hand washing station without running water. Jenny taught the Days for Girls curriculum to an EBOW alumna, Sylvie, who helped with the first Days for Girls teaching and kit distribution to Children of Promise girls and other young women in the church in the cocoa farming village of Platform. Since that initial teaching, Sylvie has gone on to begin another Days for Girls teaching with the young women in her local Church of God congregation. The investment of the local church in Sylvie's life and her training at EBOW prepared Sylvie to be used by God to impact these young women in ways that would change their daily lives. Through a pastor, a mail carrier, a contractor, a seamstress, and an EBOW-trained teacher, we see investments for impact in the Ivorian church. When we invest, when we walk alongside, we not only inspire others to do the same, but we teach by example how we can use what the Lord has gifted us to make an impact for His kingdom. Your partnership, your investment, makes it possible for us to direct and train leaders for Children of Promise, teach at EBOW, and coordinate and host service experiences in Cote d'Ivoire. We don't do this alone. We are privileged to be a bridge between your investment and the investment of the strong, growing local church in Cote d'Ivoire, so we can work together to see more people experience the love of Jesus and hear the gospel. Thank you for investing in God's kingdom. We want to connect with you so together we can walk alongside the church in Cote d'Ivoire.